suffering Iraqi Christians, Yazidis, and other religious minorities fleeing Islamic State violence. Suffering the Trump administration says is only increased by ineffective United Nations aid.
The United Nations has too often failed to help the most vulnerable communities, especially religious minorities. The result has been that countless people continue to suffer and struggle needlessly.
The vice president announcing a new step in the administration's stated goal of a U.S. foreign policy that protects Christians around the world.
From this day forward, America will provide support directly to persecuted communities through USAID.
That shift applauded by one of the leading voices for human rights in the U.S. Congress.
Just extraordinary. It is landmark.
Concerns about the safety of UN camps have led Smith to push for changes in the way the UN handles Christians.
They are a minority, and the lethality that awaits them in many of these camps is atrocious. The UNHCR and other UN agencies have bypassed many, but not all, but many of the Christians who are in desperate need of food, clothing, shelter, medicines.
The details are still being worked out, but a State Department spokesperson said new funding would come from a familiar source.
This administration, as have other administrations in the past, don't want to shy away from funding religious-based NGOs. The UN will still get some of its money for this, but we will look for other avenues in which to more efficiently fund these types of religious minorities.
But the United Nations fills a vital need, says a Senate Democrat pushing back.
But the United Nations does things in places where we can't go, won't go, where we hope we don't have to go. Let's allow them to have the resources. We're talking about basic humanitarian aid to people who are suffering and dying.
And administers that aid for everyone, a UN spokesperson said in response to the decision.
Humanitarian assistance in Iraq, as in other contexts, is provided in an impartial manner on the basis of greatest need. The UN system maintains that humanitarian work will continue to provide assistance in Iraq on this basis and in line with humanitarian principles.
But for now, the aid community has more questions than answers.
Is this a suggestion that there would be an increase in funding? That's not clear, but it could be. It could be a suggestion that there's the U.S. taking on an increasing role if it's shifting the balance.
A new balance that could significantly shift decades of U.S. leadership on human rights. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Washington.